And it's all yours, Pam. So,
Hi. Well, I mean, I'm delighted to be here. I'm so excited about this retreat that you and Monique have worked so hard on. And, even just thinking about the obstacles that you've had to deal with in creating this, like the millions of details and living life in the thick of it. There's just so much that you had to do, and I really do respect the work and the dedication to bring an art and junk journal retreat to life. Um,
yeah, it is a
yeah.
lot of work, but it was our pleasure, right, Monique? Yes. We had a lot of fun putting it together, and we're having a lot of fun here. And yeah, this has actually been a pretty good as far as like customer service and things. I think it's yeah, it's been much easier than my very first one. That was a disaster. Okay.
It's
Anyway,
easier
I'll
than
give it over to
my
you.
website. I'm like, the customer service on this one has been way easier than my website and everything else.
Yeah,
Ah,
everybody's really nice.
yeah.
All right, Pam, there you go.
Well, I think that we're talking about the letting go and becoming free lesson, right? So feel free to jump in there and give me any prompts or anything. It's been a really busy week for me as well. I had just come off of a retreat. I'm in training to be a Dharma teacher. So I was at that Dharma teacher retreat, only home for just a very few days. And my grandson, who's 10 years old, is now staying with me until this next weekend. So life got a little upside down this week, a lot of different moving pieces. So if I seem a little discombobulated, but I again, I frame that all by that's why I acknowledged the work that you, Christy, and Monique have done, because you've got a lot of moving pieces and your head is like really focused. So I really appreciate that. Um, this lesson, letting go and becoming free, I've actually done a couple of different times. Um, and I think it started really from my practice, my mindfulness practice. I find for myself, one of the challenges that I have is I want to hang on to things. I want to hang on to ideas. I want to hang on to an idea of my identity, like what my identity should be, right? What I should look like, how I should be, how big my mail list should be. What I do with my time should look different. My bank account should look different. My yard should look different. Um, my wardrobe should look different. I mean, just so many shoulds, right? And like, did you ever have a conversation and then you go your way, they go their ways, but on the way back, you're kind of replaying, did I say that right? Did I sound like an idiot? Like all those things that I hang on to, like what are they thinking about me? And this whole process of just letting go, because what that does is it keeps me away from really being present to the life that's right in front of me. I actually think there was a really good example of this. One time I was talking with a person and she was being a bit of a pill, okay? She was being very uh, creating tension and causing problems. And when I left that conversation, I got in my car and I was just like replaying the conversation and just like, like she, her, and I realized, I thought, okay, just let go. Right now, I am driving my car and I'm going to someplace that I want to go. And I looked up and there was the most amazing sunset, every color you could think of. Honestly, probably one of the most beautiful sunsets I'd ever seen. And if I hadn't let go of what had happened 20 minutes ago, I would have completely missed the opportunity to be alive to that sunset. And so that's just like one example of the power of letting go. And then another for me, another part of this is like, we've all been told these are the rules, you should follow them. And I get that we're art and junk journalists, so we kind of like hold rules lightly when it comes to art, right? But we still, like for life in general, have been told this is what it should look like, this is how it should be, this is how you should feel. And we make these stories, a lot of them are around shoulds. And letting go of that can really be liberating, incredibly liberating, like learning to really accept and love myself. I think is going to be something I work on most of my life. Just and recognizing when those thoughts come up and letting them go. And part of the process for me of doing this deep inner work is the art journal. It's allowing myself to actually make it's really actually it's like a ritual. It's like it becomes a ritual of really identifying what is this that's in front of me and allowing myself to go through this process of identifying it and making metaphors and art around it so that I can really integrate this into my life, this way I want to grow. And when I'm going to change the camera view. Is that okay? I'm going to change the camera view so you can see my table. This is the first time I did this. And I actually, in the process, drew this film strip and drew some scissors cutting the film strip. So when you do this lesson, if you want to do that, feel free to do that. I didn't include it in the lesson that's recorded for you because I don't want drawing to be an issue for anyone. I don't want it to be limiting. And you still get the process, this practice from doing this. But I started in both of these kind of the same way. I just love this photo that I found. And so I've used her in multiple different journal spreads. And we start with the water because it's very fluid and it flows, and we gently lay down kind of the background, just the landscape of our lives, right? With the colors. And then I put salt in there to give that little salt effect that happens when you use it on watercolor. And for me, the salt represents the tears that come up when we have all these thoughts and emotions, and we make stories around all these thoughts and emotions. But inside all of us is this very calm space, and allowing ourselves to really access that calm space. I wanted a visual of that. So that's basically what this lesson is, and it shows how this practice of creating using metaphor and art materials in a little mini journal here. You see, I've done some others. This was just like working with heart-centered work. This was all about fearless freedom, allowing my voice to sing out. This was embracing new. Like sometimes it's hard to move on to new things, but change is inevitable, right? So we do have new friendships, and I feel like here today, you're part of my new friendships. And we are all becoming new friends with each other, new experiences, new unknowns, and then this letting go and becoming free. So I'm going to change the camera view back and just invite you, if you have any questions about this, I would love to talk more about this letting go and becoming free, or using the art journal for contemplative practices. Junk journals are great because we're using what we have, right? Which is when we're doing mindfulness practice, we start with a breath because that's what we all have. It's very consistent.
I love this idea of mindfulness. I have been working toward a lot of that, in the last few years. And so I'm really delighted that this is what we're talking about, and that so many of you guys, well, I don't know if so many, but a few of you, um, the artists that are speaking, are covering stuff like that. And I'm just so, so happy about that. So thank you so much for doing this. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking because you've got some questions.
Oh, yes, I saw there, what is a Dharma teacher? So when I started learning mindfulness, I'll just take you to my beginnings, right? When I started learning mindfulness, I just wanted more wisdom. I wanted more insight. I wanted to go even deeper with it and really understand the mindfulness practice. And I found Dharma teachers online. And they are teachers who have studied Buddhism, because mindfulness, the background of mindfulness comes from the Buddhist practices. So I would listen to these Dharma talks online, and I found them so helpful and so pragmatic. And many of them just were easy to apply to my life, helped me become more aware of the story making in my head, or like the rush to do things all the time instead of slowing down. And so I had become a certified mindfulness teacher, but I just wanted so much more. And I thought, oh, I wanted to become a Dharma teacher. And the Dharma is considered, there's different interpretations for the word Dharma. It has different meanings. But in this sense, it means the teachings of Buddha. So I thought, if I could learn more about the roots of that, then maybe it will help me to have more wisdom, and also allow me deeper experiences with my art journal. So I hope I answered the question. But you don't have to be Buddhist to benefit from Buddhist teachings or even these Buddhist practices. And I was really resistant to that for quite a while. I just had in my head this idea of what it meant to be Buddhist, and didn't feel like I was that, whatever that was. And of course, now I realize that was, again, my own story making about what that meant. But Dharma is the teaching, the Buddhist teachings, and understanding what's behind all that. And I really love the program. So thanks for asking about that. I love, yeah, don't should on yourself, right? There's so many shoulds. We don't want to should on ourselves. And we don't need to let other people should on us either. How long have I been doing this? So this like art journaling, or this like mindfulness? So like mindfulness, I've been practicing mindfulness for probably a little more than 15 years. So that's what started me. Art journaling is probably been maybe 3 or 4 years. Well, it really went into high gear in the pandemic. In fact, this was my first, in a way, maybe a junk journal. It's an altered book that I used during the pandemic just to help me like process. My grandson that is in the other room, that is staying with me this week, I was responsible for him during first grade because of the pandemic. And he was having a tough year. We were having a tough year. And so I just started working in this, and I found it very liberating. It was something easy that I could take around and move from room to room, and maybe just have some markers or something. So that's kind of how it started for me. And then, you just go down the rabbit hole, right? That Amazon rabbit hole, talk about wish list, Michelle. Like I have art journals, I have mindfulness, I have got like mixed media, I've got all these wish lists. So yeah, I went down the Amazon rabbit hole and found lots of resources, started taking classes, finding online classes. So art journaling, probably about 3 years, mindfulness, about 15. Faces family, the main character says something similar. Nikki, he says something similar about not shooting on yourself. Ah, yeah. Did I say shoulding? I did say shoulding, did I? Yikes. I don't want her to have to beep out this. For me, meditation is a big part of my journaling experience. And sometimes I'll just, which I've got a few journals up there. There was one day that it was, I tend to be kind of an upbeat person. It's just, I guess they told me even as a little kid, I was real bubbly and everything. Um, Getting caught into identity, letting the story making be, oh, well, I always have to be positive and upbeat, right? That also can become a story. One day I was working with my art journal and I thought, I just feel really sad today. And I didn't know who I could talk to about it. So I thought, I'm just going to be with my journal and I'm going to be sad with my journal. So I let those colors come out. And then as words came or any kind of images, I would either, I can't remember if I used any collage there or not, but I would draw. And I actually, the words for me were, it's okay to be sad, to just really be with that feeling. Um, and so that's just one way it shows up in my life. Um, Now because of the Dharma teacher training, oh my, should I even show you this? So I show you this. Okay, I'm going to change the camera view again. You asked for it, so it's not pretty, right? But one of the concepts, they're called the five aggregates, and there's a collections of these that are represent all experiences of life, and form is one of them. Form would be anything physical that we see. It's the table, it's the cat, it's you, it's the body, it's the clock, it's all these are forms, right? Physical forms, right? And we make stories around these forms. We put meaning behind them even though we know nothing lasts, everything changes, right? So I just put down a lot of textures to represent form. I've got an image of a collage bird. I drew a tree. There's a picture of me as a baby. I do not like that picture. So it's actually a good picture to use because like I don't look like that anymore, except for maybe the baggy cheeks. Um, but, I put that in. Then I also did this blind contour drawing of myself. I love doing blind contour drawings. And because it frees me from that perfectionism, right? And it allows me. So I just actually looked at my phone. I put the camera view on my phone and I looked at that. And I did a blind contour drawing, all to represent form. Um, it's transient, it's always changing, and whatever form we have depends on all the conditions that came together to create it. So I could go more into that. I'm just not sure how deep to go here, but like that conditions that codependent conditions, that co-arising conditions, like the only reason I can be with you today is because the Zoom account worked. We had that condition. We have the technology to support it. I was able to have breakfast this morning. I just all these parts of it that create these conditions for us to even be together, right? And to create this form. So that's how I'm using it now. I'm using it as part of my Dharma studies. I meditate every day, even on busy days. I meditate every day. If I am able to, I try to meditate first thing in the morning. In fact, I went over that with my grandson. I says, "Listen, this is how Mimsy works. I wake up and I meditate, and then I exercise, and then I study. And I haven't been studying this week, but anyway, we've been grandsonning this week. But yes, I do meditate. I try to meditate at least 30 minutes at a sitting. Sometimes it's only 5. Sometimes if I know the day is gonna be insane, I might just lie in my bed and for 5 minutes, just allow myself to be fully present. Um, so last night we went to see Kung Fu Panda 4. It's in the theaters, right? There's 2 scenes in there. I don't know if any of you have seen it. Has anyone seen it? I I'm seeing some no's and maybe a yes, I'm not sure. Anyway, there's a couple of scenes in there where they're trying to meditate. And as I think the panda was the first one of these scenes. So he's trying to meditate. And then you see like all these little like heads popping in saying all these different things while he's trying to meditate. That is the nature of meditation, right? And that's okay. That's what our brains do. They think. So it's just not creating story around it, just being aware of it and allowing that space between us and that story making so we can let it go and find liberation. It is difficult to learn how to be still, but that stillness is in each of us. It is there. And when we can get quiet and we can learn that that is always there. And then whatever happens, this is why we practice. So whatever happening in life, even if you have a terrible conversation with somebody and you have to take off in a car, right? You learn how to come back to that, to be fully present. Um, I think I'm shoulding all over myself. I did say should. I did say should. I think I'm shoulding myself. You practice mindfulness is something different than meditation. I love that question, asking because I actually practice mindfulness, especially in creating or ending up being something I could do. Meditation is something I struggle with. So I think one way to think of this is they call it formal and informal, or dedicated and informal is another way. So when I'm sitting and I'm just, like I give a meditation timer, I start that. That's a very formal practice where I'm developing that muscle to be able to be still and be fully present. That is mindfulness, but it's also mindful to do this art. It's like I'm trying to be mindful even as I'm speaking with you, right? To bring full attention, to be fully present with you while we're together. I can be mindful. Thich Nhat Hanh said, wash the dishes to wash the dishes. How often when we're washing the dishes, our minds are everywhere else, or what are we going to do after we wash the dishes, right? Be with the dishes while you're washing them. Notice how it feels, the smells, the tactile element of it. The dishes get cleaner when you do that. Because you're really paying attention, but yes, we can be mindful, and that's why we do the formal practice, so that it's easier to be mindful in all other parts of our life, but it's practice. So this retreat that I went to for the Dharma teachers, and I'm kind of new to all this Buddhist stuff, full disclosure, I don't know what his Tik Tree Huang, but I don't know what his title is, right? But he's like the guy that started all this, and he's a venerable. I know that. And anyway, he said, we have priests, but the priests aren't holy. It's not like in other religions where priests are holy. Our priests aren't holy. They just are dedicated to the practice and dedicated to teaching others to do the practice. That's why, they're not perfect. They're not holy. They're just practicing and they're committed to that. So being mindful it's a practice. Nikki, there you are, Nikki. Hi. I feel like I've just sort of been rattling on. Does anybody have any other questions? Thank you so much. What is that behind me? This is my IKEA wall. You talked about organizing. I have an IKEA cabinet. I've got an old pie safe. Do you know what a pie safe is? It's a very antique piece of like a hutch or something, but it was built to put your pies in after you've baked them to keep the flies away. So I've got a pie safe that I use for organization. And these are racks that I'm sorry, they're no longer available from IKEA. I'm so sorry. I think actually, we called IKEA headquarters to find what we think are the last two in the world. But but there are these racks of just journals, and then there's some canvases. Like I'm playing around with. Um, I saw the color theory earlier, CMYK. She's talking about that. I'm using cyan, yellow, and magenta for my art. Like I've got an easel over there where I do my art. And I'm just working with those colors and then whites and blacks to create all my color palettes. It's just kind of something I'm playing with these days. So I've got some just kind of nutty, playful things. I did a painting of my daughter down there that was in a class. So most of these are, most of them are journals. Doing art without self-judgment is my most effective meditation because I'm guided by my soul. How beautiful. And I mean, that's a quotable. Why don't we have that on an Instagram quote? That's so beautiful. One of the things, because I feel like the process of creativity allows us to access insight that we normally would have more difficulty accessing, right? I try to find ways to allow people who think, "Oh, I'm not an artist," to do this. Like if I'm teaching at a retreat, right? I did one of these where they were all just a bunch of Buddhists that were in this group. And I'm like, they don't do arts. In fact, one of them had to buy crayons because had no art materials. So I've got to figure out ways to make this doable so they understand the benefit of allowing themselves to be creative while exploring the soul, or that inner compass that we have. And that's the real self, right? It's not, our body isn't the real self. You saw a picture of me as a baby. Don't really look, again, okay, other than these, I don't really look like it, but these aren't the same cells that I had as a baby. They're all new cells. Um, but that my grandson was asking me about death. And of course, there's so many views about what happens with death. And I said, one thing that we can know for sure is energy doesn't get destroyed and doesn't get created, it just exists, right? So nobody really knows what's on the other side. We have faiths and beliefs about that that all help us to live our lives. But somehow the energy's there. So that's like the real you, right? Which is a bit of a relief. Let's see, any other questions? Do you want to just see more of my journals? Okay, okay. Um, oh, here's another one. Um, oops, I need to change the camera view. Let me do that. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn the view off. There we go. This is a big one. This is this is a part of my Dharma training too. This might be a little much. Um, this is the Eightfold Path that I was working on. I'm still kind of working on how to do that. I have a good subscription. This was me just playing another blind contour drawing that I did. I love blind contour drawings. Courage in the winter of my life. Claim your role as a crone. Oh, you can't see that. A bit sassy, kind, wise, ornery, misunderstood, loud, brassy, coy, compassionate, badass, accomplished, still learning, unapologetically you. Courage in the winter of my life. Magic is ageless. Fear grips and weighs heavily. So I saw this and it looked like on the shoulder of this aging woman, there's that fear of what's going to happen to me physically, my body and aging. Blind contour drawings are, it's when you look at something. This is a big journal. Let me see if I can find smaller ones. when you look at something, but you don't look at the drawing. So I'll come back to that because I got tons of those. So basically, like I have an object, say I'm going to draw my water cup, right? And I have it set in front of me. So I just set in front of me and I'm looking at the water cup and I never look at my paper except when I first start and I put my pen or pencil down on the paper and then I never look back. And I just follow the contours of this. And if I need to get someplace inside, I just draw a line over to another part and just draw really around all the contours and the edges. Because contour drawing is where you're just drawing the edges. So blind contour, but you can look at your paper. Blind contour drawing means I don't look at my paper. And I like to do that on retreats or when I'm out in public. I like to do blind contour drawing. It is fun because Nikki was saying that sounds so fun. Well, Etch-a-Sketch, you got to be coordinated, to turn those knobs. Somebody says, so like using an Etch-a-Sketch. You do, yes, like using a Etch-a-Sketch because you let go of the outcome. Although I get kind of fussy with Etch-a-Sketches, to be honest. But contour drawing, you're drawing the contours, the shapes of things, the outlines of things. Blind contour just means, no, I'm not going to look at it until I'm done. Something looks like the shelf, like it could have flames. Is this it? Over this. Am I going the right way, the other way? This. This.
It's closer to that beautiful drawing of your daughter.
Okay. This?
Yes.
Okay. Oh my, this thing. This one is nuts. I'm really happy to show this to you because this is one of those things. It was such a project and I'm thinking, why did I even do that? So I have this friend who also does arts journaling and she said, let's do something around the concept of expansion. So I was just playing with the concept of expansion. So we're going to start, and she was thinking from the masculine and the feminine. So that we need to expand both areas of our life in order to really expand into our fullness or sovereignty. So I did contemplation where I did some writing and I had made this grid here, these 4 grids. And these words are like represent the masculine, the stability, the giving, protected, disciplined, and order, purpose, strategy, and logic, right? This is maybe the stability was the female, and this one is the male. That's probably it. And then I just put this, I had been playing with some tissue paper and acrylic ink. And so the whole thing just expands. It just expands out. We're again working with expansion. I glue on the tissue paper, and each one of these that spins out. I think, yeah, I even put something on the back side. And that represents kind of the male and female. This represents the female. Yeah, so and it's the holding, the giving, the nest. There's just a lot of scenery there. Allowing ourselves to grow and transform, but there's the order, which is the typewriter, because I think of it being very rigid. And then create. Now what's on the back of that? Oh, a mouth, because we speak. And then just being able to shine in this, that we need to trust ourselves to grow and transform, use intuition, care, create, heal, nurture. So this one is, I don't know that it will ever be anything other than maybe hanging on a clip in the back of my art room. I don't think we'll ever make it into a lesson, but because it was complicated. This baby was complicated. It was like, how do I teach this? Like making this part was easy, right? You just have these 4 quadrants and they fold out. But then this tissue paper that's been reinforced with acrylic, so it's a little more firm. And then each of these rollouts, so I have these little mini brads in there that are, I don't know if you can see in between there. So I put the picture over it so they're covered. So I have that covered on both sides so you don't see any of the brad. And then it can spin in and out. Who asked for that? You have got an eye, whoever good job, Nicole. I think your computer screen is bigger than mine. So but yeah, thanks for noticing that. It was really fun to, again, just listen. Who is it that said you just listen to what's inside and let it come out? I like interactive designs too. I like the flip outs and all the different things we can do, but yeah, that's that one. Let's see what else. If I have anything interesting. Here's a flip out. This is I don't know if you can see, it's really more of a stand up. These were just some watercolor that I tore circles out and then glue them on some kind of it's like cardstock or something. So it'd have something firm, and clearing the dense forests of my life. So I like this. Maybe you've seen these tutorials for making these birch trees, where you just take white, or you have white paper and you have black ink or gray, and you just like kind of crazy, just like make horizontal stripes. Then you cut it in the other direction. Like, so if these are horizontal, and I'm cutting in vertical strips to make these tree trunks. And it makes it was fun to make, and it's super easy. And now I've got great tree trunks I can use. And that's Ruth King. She is also a mindfulness teacher. I think she's a Buddhist. She must be a nun of some sort. She's shaved there. And I have this poem, The Clearing by Martha Postlethwaite. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize it and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. So let's see, here's a fold out. So this is a little book. I have a friend who is a depth psychologist, and this is actually one of her lessons, working with Little Red Riding Hood and pulling out metaphors from the story of Little Red Riding Hood. And it's my story of creating. So I did a few of these pages. So my own little book with a lot of imagery. And I like that picture of me as a kid. This is one that I did for Soul Circle. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Soul Circle. There is a real playful part of me. So if this were dark, you could see how there's black light all over. There's neon colors there. So it looks really cool. If I went and turned on all the lights, you would see. But I actually have fluorescent paints and markers that I use just so I can play with black light. Oh, thank you, Christy. I'm glad you liked that poem. First time I did it, I used the owl to represent me, I guess, my aspiration to be wise someday. And then this one, I thought I'll just start with me because that's where I'm at. Oh yeah, these are fun memories. This one, I was trying to figure out some way to do a snow globe. So I had this plastic and using compassion. This was all around compassion. Oh, Christy, I'm glad you love this. Thank you. There's, again, using the snow globe concept, a different plastic. This, I think I used a Ziploc bag and just tape that in. And this one, you get so much junk, right? For junk journals, right? And trying to keep things out of the landfill. So I like to use silhouettes of wolves a lot. No mud, no lotus. A gift from my dreaming child. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. That's the umbrella this woman is holding. A gift from my dreaming child. I am not alone.
Check the location of all of your items.
Oh, this was a fun one. You've got this. Oh, that's my dad. This is one where I wrote a letter to my dad. No, I had a imaginary visit with my dad, and this is the letter I wrote to him. Dear Daddy, I miss you a lot. I think of you every day, especially in the mornings when I get up at 8 a.m. He was incredibly prompt when he wasn't working on his days off because my bedroom was right next to the bathroom. And he was in there at 8 a.m. And I have my whole life tried to figure out, how did he do that? How did he not wake up early and have to go to the bathroom? I mean, it was always 8 a.m. prompt. So I like to use pockets. I was thanking him for the laughter, encouragement, support, and understanding. Blackout poetry. Do any of you do blackout poetry? Oh, that's really fun to do in our journals. And these were like scribble art and then finding a creature out of the scribble and creating the creature and then having a conversation with the creature, letting the creature, so my creatures told me to be free, let go. See, you see a theme here. Do you see a theme? Let go, be free. Imagination is a gift for and in everyone. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the easier it is. And I like using text as backgrounds. You see, I've done this here. And even in the letting go and being free, I've used text for background, probably because I was raised with a lot of rules. I mean, mega rules, right? Lots of rules, raised very conservative, with a lot of rules. I spent some time as a registered parliamentarian. So I learned Robert's Rules of Order. More rules, more rules. So I feel like a lot of the shoulds in our life come from these rules. So text represents so much of the rules, the concepts, the cultural norms that create the stories in our life. So for me, they make good background layers for art and junk journals, because it's often what informs how we're showing up in the world. And just bringing awareness to that and knowing what can we let go of and what is really serving us, what's helping us. Some of this is obviously good, right? Don't hurt people. That's a good one. But some of them are not so helpful. Oh, that was a fun one. I will allow, and this, it got ruined. I don't know, like some water got in there. So I'm not really sure if there were, I will allow something me to play, blank, and create joy and healing. It happens. I like to do some writing, journaling, or whatever, and use that as part of the spreads. So I'll change the camera view again. I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, Cheryl said that she's done blackout poetry with students. They love it. Yeah, I actually was thinking I've got a list of workshops or practices, whatever you want to call these things. I don't know what are these things, videos that I'm going to make. And I thought I really should do more with blackout poetry because it can be really powerful. I'm actually part of a community, the mindfulness teachers. We have an alumni platform, and there's just this little group of us that are all around creativity and mindfulness. And this next month, I'll be leading the facilitating that group. So I actually might do some blackout poetry there. Any other questions? You're listening to me prattle on and on.
By now you should know we all love it. You know, we all love to listen to each other, you know, and just see how things are done by other people. I just
Yeah,
find it so interesting.
it is fascinating. All those bonuses you and Monique have thrown in are just staggering. And because I have my grandson with me this week, it's just not even realistic for me to get to those. But once my life gets a little more of the normal crazy routine, then I'll be able to look back at some of those and really like, I'm super pumped.
Yes, I know.
I think I've seen several places where it's almost more fun to make the journal than it is to work in it. I love that. I can really relate to that. I love making journals.
Same with me. I want to start using them though, and that's where like what you're teaching comes in, you know, really, really helpful. I think Therese and Karen, and you know what I mean? So there's so many options for building junk journals and filling them in so many different ways. This is really
Yes.
amazing.
So somebody asked again about the racks. I had bought these racks from IKEA, and the thing that I liked about them is they had these which help hold the journal open. So I can put something in there and open to a particular journal page. But I had looked for years for something that I could use in so many different places. And one day we were at IKEA and I saw that and I just thought that is exactly it. But I don't know how to find something else like it without actually, well, Christy, your husband built you that cabinet. So maybe if you have somebody that's handy in your life, they could build you a rack.
Yeah, if they know metal, like metal work.
Wow. Total of 30 workshops between the lives, the pre-recorded, the artisan pass. This has got to be one of the most, I mean, free, which is amazing. But if you get the artisan's pass, I mean, have you ever seen that kind of value before where you get so much? And it's not like so much like frou-frou stuff either. It's like legit, legit bonuses, legit sessions. We have enough projects to do until the fall. Yes. Yeah. Trying to
Yeah,
think.
I always buy the passes for, and unfortunately, sometimes I don't get back to them, you know, I forget about them because that's what I do. But then I find them and I'm like, oh, look at all these things, you know, and they're just so fun.
So I actually started making a spreadsheet so I could track all the things, all the courses that I bought because I was doing the same thing. I want to show you something else. This is something I'm going to change my camera view again that you may find interesting since you've hung in here so far and you haven't got mad at me. So I'll show you. This is biomimicry, is where we look at nature, because nature's had all these millions of years to figure out solutions to problems, right? So we can look at how nature solved these problems and learn how to solve human problems. And so I wanted to do some wisdom. What can we learn? What wisdom can we gain as humans from nature? And I thought I would start with a dandelion. So this is actually a new series. I've got it all recorded. I don't have it up, but hopefully, like, it is actually online in one place, but it's not really accessible or anything. But hopefully in another month I will have it. But this is Wisdom from the Dandelions. It's just the cover, and we're covered with loving kindness. So this first was a practice in loving kindness, where you do some writings about, like, if you could offer your best well wishes to the world, like unfettered, no barriers or anything, just what would you wish for the world? So wrote that on a piece of paper and tore it into these circles. And this is the yellow is put down to show the flow and the movement of air that covers the world. And then these are my well wishes being put out into the world. This next one is about being deeply rooted. So it's just, again, I kept the materials very simple. So I didn't want the art part of it to be a hindrance to anyone. So I walked them through how to make these roots, and you don't even have to be artistic, and they look really cool, right? But what has rooted me in healthy ways, right? So I did one root, like what has already been healthy and has sustained me in life, the good roots that I have, and what new roots would I like to grow? What new roots do I want to lay down? This one is in radical acceptance. So this is very abstract, opening to all that life brings and holding both all the pleasant, the unpleasant, right? With the joys, the sorrows as opportunities to learn how to practice equanimity and wisdom. But there's the because the dandelions, they're very resilient, right? In all kinds of even difficult terrains, they can grow. So we can learn that from dandelions. What seeds am I sowing in each moment? So this was, I masked this out and I put down the colors and I drew in the forms of the houses and the seeds going to the world, and knowing that I am sowing seeds into the world. What seeds am I sowing? This is supporting diversity. So again, keeping minimal art supplies, just using like black and gray, diluted black, right, to get the gray, and yellow, because I wanted to keep that simple for this. Recognizing these seeds filter out and support diversity, recognizing that a healthy world and its environment needs diversity. I can be mindful that my efforts encourage as much diversity as possible, even when it may feel new or unfamiliar. May all beings have a voice. And this was self-compassion, and probably artistically is maybe my least favorite, but I'm so inspired by the dandelion because what it does is it has this basal root, right? We've all seen the basal root, right? It goes very deep, maybe 15 feet even. And the leaves come out, and the leaves are shaped in almost like to funnel the water to the basal root. And the way they fan out prevents other plants from growing in the space that it needs. And if we want to do our work in the world, right? Whatever we're here for, whoever we can bless by being here, right? We have to also make sure we're getting the resources we need. And we bring self-compassion to that. So what do I feel? What do I need? And what can I do to help take care of myself while I'm this dandelion that's putting down roots and spreading goodness in the world, hopefully, and sowing seeds. So I really love this self-compassion practice. So that's kind of my latest thing.
That's lovely. I love that so much. And I really love that you used just very few colors. You know, I actually love the gray and yellow combination anyway. So that was really, it's really an attractive journal.
Thanks. You never know when you make this stuff up, right? You just like kind of like following, I call it follow the whim. Follow the whim. And then so I thought, well, let's give them one color and then gray. Can't go wrong there. Everybody can figure out some kind of gray. It could be a pencil. It could be anything, right? And everybody's got a highlighter somewhere in their house.
All right. Well, I guess in one more minute, I'm going to teach something. And so I am going to make sure that my stuff is set up.
Sure.
I mean, it mostly is. I just need to switch.
Sure.
I'll
just take this moment then to thank everyone for being here. It's been delightful to spend this time with you. I will probably have to sign off and tend to my 10-year-old grandson who is in the wings. He was allowed to have screen time, but screen time is up. So, and now I've got to usher him on. He does have ballet practice tonight. He's a ballet dancer. So he has to get ready for that. So I will look at the recording for Christy's, what she's going to be presenting. Just, it's been lovely. I've enjoyed so much seeing your faces, your smiles, very encouraging, your interest. Having lunch while you do this. So my grandson's here and he's like, he was really curious of like what my day's like. And so on Monday, we're most of the way through it and he's like, so Mimsy, is this really what your day's like? I didn't do any art that day, right? It was all on the computer. I said, well, usually my day's longer because I get up earlier when you're not here. I do more of morning prep things. I study. But yeah, then I come and I sit and I work and then I eat at the computer while I'm working from home and